tonight is one of those ones where it's going to go up and like it's off the wall, eh? Like humor sometimes it gets rude and crude, and it's out there to test your all your levels of compassion. How you're going to sit in that seat and still take it. But don't worry, they can't see you, so they're not going to be able to pick on you tonight. Although I might turn the lights up. But so we were going to do this way where it was going to be Johnny Love first, and then it was going to be Martin, because I told Martin I wouldn't let him go on first, just to help him out, and then DJ Roy was going to be the last, right, the final, the big guy, and but that it goes from like, the DJ's known as the Godfather of filth, right? We've all been warned, right? There might be a little bit of profanities being used tonight. I'm not going to drop the F-bomb right now, but oh, by the way, what happens when you cross a Jehovah's Witness with a Hell's Angel? Someone comes to your door and tells you to fuck off. There, we got that F-bomb out there right away. The reason I bring that up is because the seats you guys are sitting in back there, I inherited from the Jehovah's Witnesses. I answered an ad for 150 soft seat theater seats, and I won, and I picked those up on December 26th, the day after they needed them, which was December 25th, which was a Saturday. So inadvertently, I did receive a Christmas present from the Jehovah's Witnesses to open up a music venue. Isn't that a wonderful irony? I just love the shit like that. Anyway, so I've been up here long enough that this constitutes me being up first, right? So now you're up second? Right. Mr. Martin Barker, let's give him a big warm welcome, please.
Thank you, Long John. Walking up here, I realized what Long John meant, that my pay would be commensurate with my experience. For those of you who don't know, today is a first for me. I have never done this before. Exactly. And as a virgin, I'm a little nervous because I was told that the first time always hurts. And my friends, when they heard I was going to do this, I said, if I was up there, I would shit bricks. And I didn't really realize they were being literal because there's an actual brick in my back pocket. It's very uncomfortable. Some of you know that I'm a doctor. And I hear this all the time. You're not really a doctor. You're a pretend doctor. And whenever I hear this, I think of those old commercials. The older ones here will probably remember the guy on the TV selling something. I'm not a real doctor, but I play one on TV. That's not me. But I'm a chiropractor. So for those of you who want some Oxycontin after the show, I am unavailable. But I will deal a little bit of crack if you want some. But I really love being a chiropractor. It's one of those jobs. I wake up in the morning and I really look forward to going to work. It's like going to work to spend the day with my friends. And one of the great things about my job is I get to talk about whatever I want all day long. Ladies, how many of you have obsessive husbands who are sports fans? Yeah, I can't see your hands. I'll assume everybody put up their hands. But my mates are so lucky. I go to work and I want to talk about the Vancouver Canucks. I'll ask my patient, do you watch the Vancouver Canucks? No, I don't. I hate that team. Too bad we're talking Vancouver Canucks. I talk all day. I get it on my system. I go home and my spouse doesn't have to hear any of it. Another great thing I love about chiropractics is helping people. But a lot of people, when they first come to me, they're really nervous. Once again, I'm going to ask for a show of hands. I won't be able to see them. But how many of you have never been to a chiropractor? Right here. There's one of you? Good work. And are you too afraid to go to a chiropractor? Too young? Too young. She's afraid. I get that all the time. Like people who've come to me, they're pretty good, but when they come, they're always a little afraid. I love that. Now in school, they told us a few things we were never, ever supposed to do. We were never supposed to sit over the patient and go, or, wow, that's really interesting. Or, I've never seen that before. But the truth be told, I really like to have fun in my office. And so sometimes I have to ignore what I was taught. So I'll have a patient come in, I do my workup, I've got my plan. And neck adjusting is the most scary, I think, for new people, right? So I had them laid out, I'm going to give them a neck adjustment. That wasn't supposed to happen. I just love the look on their face when I do that. Another thing that I really enjoyed, surprisingly really enjoyed, is I've really enjoyed being a dad. Now, before I was a dad, I kind of considered myself a really macho guy, and truth be told, I really hated children. In fact, I used to work in retail, and I was a manager. So when a mom and a child came into the place, I would have to go hide. Like, I would literally hide from children. My ex-wife is here, so you can ask. Part of this story is true, but people are really surprised to hear that, because when I'm near children, they crawl on me. It's, you know how dogs are when they see somebody who hates dogs, and they just come right to you. Well, that was me with children, and my ex-wife would tell me, "Well, that's because you're the same mental level." So anyway, I became a dad, and let me tell you, I love being a dad. But the first day, any new dads out here, once again, I can't see your hands. I know there's some of you who've been dads before. It's a huge experience. That little baby comes out, and like, I don't know how much the woman did, but I did a lot of it. Like, oh, the babies are so perfect. And so you're sitting at that baby thinking, man, that baby is so perfect. And into you, like, I don't know if you other guys out here were one-time macho, but that ends once you have a baby. The spirit of the dad marshmallow enters inside of you, and you are no longer able to be a tough guy anymore. That baby is going to rule your life. Now, how many of you are a little rough period around 2, but you can kind of ignore it because it's really just about no. Would you like a cookie? No. Would you like to come to the park? No. But in reality, they do it anyway. They don't really know what no means. But after they start learning what no means, apparently they start to reason or something. I really hate that in children. It was time I decided to play a bit of a mental game. So when my son got past the no part, I figured I needed a new way of disciplining my child. So I told him, son, it's time you knew that in the olden days when we were cavemen. At first I got to say, is there any social workers in the room? I need you to leave now. I would tell my son, in the old days when cavemen dads didn't like their children because they did bad things, we ate them. So it was really convenient. Some of my friends thought it was barbaric, but my son would act up. I would turn the oven on and get out the roaster. Behavior problem solved. Of course, kids catch on to you, especially if you're a marshmallow dad like myself. And I don't know, some of the other dads might have this problem too. It doesn't always work, these empty threats. So he got a bit older, and I decided to choose a new mental game. Son, if you're bad, I'm going to beat you. And this is kind of more from like my generation. That's what my dad used to tell me too. But you know, kids, even at age 4 or 5, they already know what the social services number is. So they're on you. But Dad, if you beat me, I'm going to phone social services. Well, son, I'm a chiropractor, and there'll be no bruises. So that was a really great thing for a while. But then they get bigger, and I have a son, so obviously he likes kind of that physical thing. So he wasn't really afraid of being beaten, which was really annoying because his big thing, once he was old enough, was to attack Dad and to see what he could get away with before I really had to beat him. And his big mission in life was to choke Dad unconscious. So, so any of you who remember the old days, the Pink Panther, Peter Sellers, and how he'd have his big battles with his butler, Cato, that was my house. For years, once my son was old enough, that's what it was. He would come from underneath a desk. He would come from behind a closet. And, after I woke up, I realized I really needed another method of discipline. But of course, kids get older. And I think those of you who've had teenagers realize you have virtually no control over your teenagers. So what I did is I upped my mental game. I decided I got to pre-discipline my son. So as he was growing older, I said, when he was 10 to 12, I would go, son, you're going to come to a time very soon where adults will appear to make no sense whatsoever. Your parents will appear to be mentally handicapped. And I tried to assure him that really wasn't the case, that he was undergoing tremendous changes in himself, and he just wouldn't be able to make sense of the world. And interestingly, my good friend Elaine told me the other day that teenagers actually do lose intelligence for about 5 years. So it all kind of makes sense. So I tried that. It kind of worked for a little bit. And then I thought about what my dad used to do to me. Like when I was a teenager, my dad had a bit of a game. I would go for a party, and then I would come home late, and I would sneak in the house, and then I would wake up for breakfast, and Dad would say, "Whoa, how was that party last night?" And I always wondered how the hell he knew. He always knew what I did. And so as I grew older, I realized how he did this, because I did every single thing my son did as a teenager. Every single thing. So I thought back, what did I do when I was 15? What did I do when I was 16? So one day my son is 16. I go up to him. I going out of the blue, just assuming what I did when I was 16. Well, son, I started marking the liquor bottles. The look on his face told me everything. So that was an exploit through teenagehood. So little mind games, I think, kind of worked out. My son has kind of managed himself. I think the therapy is going okay for him, and he will be back to normal soon. Another thing, which I think some people know and are probably not surprised, I'm actually a City of Duncan politician. I know. I actually get a lot of laughs at council too. And when I look out to Toronto and see the debacle that's happening in Toronto with Rob Ford, I'm actually quite disappointed in Duncan that we have no alcoholics and no drug addicts, because there's no really interesting stuff in the paper. We just have straight up politicians. Although I'm very suspicious, if some of you follow me around later tonight, I may be drunk. But when I look at Rob Ford, right now he's probably Canada's most famous drunk. It's hard for me to believe that he does crack. When I look at that body, it looks more to me like somebody who's abused a bit of bacon. And drunk politicians are not actually a rarity in Canada or actually in the world. The founder of our country, John A. Macdonald, probably the most famous drunk in Canada. And that guy was never at a loss for words. And back in the day when they originally campaigned, they would get in a train, they would go to a town, and you and your guy you were campaigning against would be on the same train. You get off, you do a stump speech. And I gather one day John A. got off the train, was about to give a speech on the platform, and vomited, which I guess was not that uncommon for him. So his opponent leaped up and, "Can you believe that this drunk wants to be the Prime Minister of Canada?" And John A. Macdonald, never at a loss for words, responded, "But sir, it's not so much that I drink, it's that I must listen to your words." Probably my favorite orator, Winston Churchill, also a famous political drunk, probably had my most favorite retort when one of his colleagues, obviously somebody who didn't like him very much, found him, as she said, disgustingly drunk. "Winston, you are disgustingly drunk." Well, Winston's reply was, "Madame, I may be disgustingly drunk, but tomorrow I shall be sober, and you shall remain disgustingly ugly." Politics in Canada is quite interesting. We have three parties, but mostly it goes between the Liberals and Conservatives. And what I find really interesting about national politics is we have a Liberal Party that tells us how wonderful they'll make everything. They're going to give us tons of money. We're all going to have a new house. We're going to have a great car. If you have curly hair, we're going to find a way to straighten that for you. The Conservatives, on the other hand, when they're not in power, they tell you how bad government is. And what they do is they get elected to prove how bad they are. So, ladies and gentlemen, just one more thing. I feel so much better. Thank you very much. You guys have been great.
Congratulations. Thank you. Hey.